Going back in time, the great Greek philosopher Aristotle was once regarded as the most brilliant person alive. Still, a scientist from humble circumstances named Galileo disproved one of his outstanding claims about cosmology. History tends to repeat itself. Galileo's theories were disproven by Newton, whose laws were disproven by Einstein. The recipient of the Physics Nobel Prize this year has disproved Einstein. The universe can humble even the most brilliant minds, and we must question everything, even if it means accepting something we previously dismissed. As children, we used to believe stories about the legendary Santa Claus, the bringer of Christmas presents. But as we grew older, we realized that the man we all once adored was a myth. We thought we knew this man, but we were mistaken. The scientific community today denies the existence of an island called Atlantis, a civilization that was ahead of its time. But two scholars, Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson, claim to have proof that it did exist at one time. If their claims are valid, they can change human history and our perception of the universe. Atlantis was a legendary island that sank beneath the waves in a distant past, taking a sophisticated civilization with it. Will we ever find it, or, more importantly, did it ever exist in the first place? In a podcast with famous podcaster Joe Rogan, two scholars, Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, suggest that the legendary location did exist and hint that the proof lies in Plato's date. Graham mentioned Plato's date of 9600 BC, approximately 11,600 years ago. That may not seem like much, but it corresponds with the end of the Younger Dryas period, which began with an unexplained rise in sea level and the mass extinction of animal species. It also coincides with the period when the global temperature began to rise. The last ice caps melt into the sea, resulting in a massive rise in sea level. Graham stated during an interview with Joe Rogan, "It's an incredibly important day because the Younger Dryas began 12,800 years ago, with a cataclysm with a puzzling, mysterious rise in sea level at the same point. Thousands of years of freezing temperatures caused mass extinction of animal species all over the world. And then, 11,600 years ago, the global temperature shot up, then the last of the ice caps collapsed into the sea. Sea level rises enormously. That is the date that work starts at Göbekli Tepe. And that's the point I've made many times. But it's really worth making because archaeologists roll their eyes every time you say the word Atlantis. According to the scholar, this was the exact date that Plato, the primary reference to Atlantis, gave for Atlantis' destruction. The scholar pointed out that Plato's ancestor Solon went to Egypt to learn from the Egyptian priests because Athens had lost an important record of their history due to a flood that swept the entire civilization. However, the Egyptians had this record in their archives. If you recall, this coincided with the end of the Younger Dryas, which marked the start of what scientists called Meltwater Pulse 1b, one of the largest overnight sea rises in history. Plato's description is quite detailed, and NASA's satellite images of a few places on Earth fit his description. According to Graham and Randall's Plato reference, Atlantis was made up of alternating larger and smaller zones of sea and land that circled one another. He turned 2 of land and 3 of water out of the center of the island, which was central in every way. The first hint is the Eye of the Sahara because Plato stated that if water existed in the Eye of Sahara, there would have been 3 rings of water and 2 rings of land. The two scholars hinted at the second indication in relation to Plato's text. The mountains of Atlantis were celebrated for their size and beauty, and rivers flowed through the city's surrounding mountains. This part of the island faced south and was protected from the north. The Eye of Sahara is surrounded on the north side by a chain of mountains, and satellite imagery shows traces of many ancient rivers on the sides of these mountains. There are numerous other indications that the Eye of Sahara is the legendary Atlantis. Plato, for example, claimed that the city was teeming with elephants, and archaeologists discovered numerous elephant skeletons in the area. There are also elephant rock art depictions there. Is this a coincidence, or is Plato's description of a fallen nation more than a myth? Could it be? According to one scientist, humans have tended to settle near water since ancient times. Because we need water to survive, This has always attracted many people, even though waterway areas have a certain level of uncertainty. Waterways are always volatile when compared to dry climates. Natural erosion alters the ground over time, but disasters such as flooding or earthquakes cause water to move more violently. There is no doubt that human history is littered with disasters that, while not wiping out entire generations, did cause significant damage. These events, passed down through generations and relayed in oral histories, tend to grow larger than life. As a result, it is possible that there was little distinction between the concepts of fiction and non-fiction in the ancient world when it came to storytelling, given that they see their existence as part of a larger fantasy narrative about the universe. With that in mind, they would have placed a lower value on clearly stating what was completely real and purely fictional. According to the theory, Atlantis was an actual city. Still, Plato may have adopted the truth to craft a story that was more true in his eyes than some mundane fact like Atlantis. The ancient Greeks may not have cared as much about modern-day distinctions, and scientists may have been too quick to dismiss them, especially when NASA's satellite images of specific locations on Earth appeared to check the box. Unlike many other legends, the origins of which have been lost in the mist of time, we know when and where the Atlantis story first appeared. The story was first told in Plato's dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC. Professor of archaeology Ken Feather suggests that the ancient philosopher's depiction is more complex than we may believe in his book, The Encyclopedia of Dubious Archaeology. He contended that Atlantis was the epitome of a materially wealthy, technologically sophisticated, and militarily powerful nation that became corrupted by its wealth, sophistication, and that it might not be as honorable as everyone believes it isn't the perfect society but is somewhat contrary. The cool part is that Ken isn't the only one who thinks like that either. Many scientists today assume that the Atlantis description given by Plato is more about the city's heroic rivalry with Athens than a sunken civilization. If Atlantis existed today and were found intact and inhabited, its residents would try to eliminate or imprison us all. In comparison, Plato may have done to Atlantis what Homer did to Troy a few hundred years earlier. He based his tale of Atlantis on a historical location and a primitive culture that the ancient Greeks knew of, one that Plato chose to make use of to convey his philosophical tale. That is our video for today. We hope you like it. Do these ideas convince you that Atlantis is real? Share all of your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Well, that's all for now. This is Big Tech Media. See you again tomorrow. Keep in mind to like, share, and subscribe.